This video is intended to describe a Lightblade talisman named Truthseeker, and to join me on that endeavor as always is my whimsical trusty stick figure chakra map to work as illustrative guide for the cataloging of the crystalline components seen affixed to this apparatus. Starting off with the primary blade band scaffolding, seen like so, vaguely resembling a figure eight, is the primary containment field recirculation of energy, this very vast dynamic concentrated unit of high potency vibratory threshold. So starting off most appropriately as a base foundational contingency would be the transmutation ratio seen right here, which runs laterally like so, up the side, lateral once again, and laterally right here to be its own quadrant of a particular ratio to serve as a very premier grounding transmuter for the entire scaffolding, which is always appropriate to kick off any dissertation based on the crystalline composition due to its foundational critical feature. So the aspect of the hematite has a very profound grounding of all excess stray radial energies through the auric field, through the root chakra, into the earth stars, into the earth fluid processing. In tandem with smoky quartz in ignition sequence to work as the same energetic stimuli pattern of high transmutation by firmly grounding all excess energy through the root chakra, into the earth stars, into the earth fluid processing. So the two together will be considered the transmutation ratio due to the high grounding nature of earth frequency resonance. It's developed to be quite the effective excess ground of all energy that highly grounds the energy of the entire apparatus for that matter, but as well as grounds from the root, the earth stars, into the earth fluid processing to be a form of cathartic etheric dialysis by earth resonance, which is very discouraging for stagnant energy to maintain the field by proxy. As well as it's quite integral to, of course, serve as a strong ground pilot of the excess energy this guy is developed to produce based on its very high celestial output. So that's why it's a very important place to start, and that's why exactly this ratio is its own quadrant to ensure the frequency pitch always has a strong ground to make the magic real as well. So it's quite the important critical functionality and safety feature for any device in that capacity. And up here, this would be the apex band where the necklace shall be installed after this video, which is a combination of clear quartz to work as a neutral accelerant of the energy, going into lapis lazuli, which is a heavy concentration which honors the aspect of truth seeker as a classic stone of higher guidance magic for enjoyed by millennia by the entire world, which I will omit because that would take a lot longer just than it's already enough to talk about for a thorough dissertation here. But in the aspect of lapis is a critical 5th and 6th chakra stimulant of air that would be considered a quintessential magical stone of antiquity, well enjoyed for thousands of years in many circles of magic, particularly Egypt, of course, but I will continue on to what's relevant. And the aspect of lapis is a very powerful sovereign empowerment of one's conscious self-alignment of their true divine nature with great insight, which is very conducive to a truth seeker. Then clear quartz to neutrally accelerate into cinnabar, which is a very profound mercury-based stimulant of the root chakra, the sacrum, and the third eye particularly, and the capacity to burn through limitations that are not of one's highest resonance, to actually see the etheric weave, atomical structure of creation as a quintessential stone of sorcery. It's very far out and very meta to describe in a coherent linear fashion. So I will just continue on and just simply say that this stone is very, very empowering for the sorcerer archetype of high capacity to perceive the weave of creation. That's enough about that for now. Clear quartz into lapis, clear quartz into cinnabar, and so on as it completes its sequence and grounds back most importantly into the transmutation scaffolding to serve as a common ground for the figure eight nexus running in a sequence as a containment field. Then right here, this would be the primary blade band, the reason for the season. That starts off with rutilated quartz to work as a neutral accelerant with bands of rutile in it, which is a titanium oxide derivative that works as a massive intensification supercharger to the other crystals in sequence seen right here. So it's only two beads in sequence for this one, but they're quite mighty and potent and powerful for this configuration. So the aspect of the rutilated quartz accelerates and intensifies into Libyan gold tektite beads, which is a very powerful golden ray celestial dharmic accelerant, which I fondly refer to as goldavite, based on its sheer space magic gold ray capacity akin to moldavite in general, as a very, very powerful solar plexus enhancement, and sacrum, of course, being a cardinal fire, with very profound all-around storm overtones that make a golden ray of illumination to the entire auric field, which is very, very empowering, very, very sovereign-inducing, and also, of course, aligns one's confidence, most importantly, in tandem with the lapis, to have a very strong conscious self-empowerment, sovereign capacity, and of course the creativity to work as a counterbalance to act from that disposition of an I am creator. So that's why that's a heavy, very heavy concentration here, to have the intensification into the goldavite or Libyan gold, which was of course a well-enjoyed magical space crystal enjoyed and utilized by the pharaohs of antiquity in their magical regalia that was indicative of the badge of office of a Magi God King. So that entire sequence is very vivid, very light, and very bright, and very empowering, and particularly on the quest of a truth seeker. So that aspect goes a long way right there for very, very empowering, very dynamic light activation. So that'd be the figure 8 scaffolding right here, which will also serve as the containment field, redirection of energy for the rest of the components discussed now. So right here at the very apex is quite the critical component for such a high yield space magic derivative frequency generator, is that of smoky celestial quartz. So smoky quartz, like mentioned in the transmutation blade band, is very effective for grounding excess energy earth for reprocessing. But the aspect that's quite critical here is the growth structure provides a very special stimuli function of being a very profound adaptogen autoregulator of the entire frequency pitch, which always is quite complicated to discuss in a very coherent linear manner. But I continue to refine and do my best. So the aspect of the structure of celestial works as an auto-regulator to govern the frequency pitch of this emanation to always be in perfect balance adaptogen in real time with the auric field, and also whoever is in contact, such as the recipient as well as anyone interaction-wise, will adjust the frequency pitch to not be too overwhelming for the recipient or the contactee, if you would, either. It's quite the meta-effective crystalline contingency that's rather far out, which obviously this is a very far out concept of vibrational engineering set in stone naturally. But that's the aspect why it's so important, is that this is like also a very powerful divine resonator to encourage the higher self blueprint all times in fluctuation pitch to ensure the highest good for each moment, which is very viable contingency. Then right here, this prominent piece of lapis lazuli on the blade face plays a critical role to be the perfect antithesis to the gold ray crystal utilized by ancient Egyptian mysticism particularly. Then lapis, of course, is a very classic, utilized, famous Egyptian crystal that works as a perfect balance to the intensive sacrum stimulation of the fire with the air to stimulate the higher truth, which is very, very effective for the truth seeker archetype. Virtually unrivaled mineral kingdom based on its morphic field deification of human magical rituals for thousands of years. That's just counting recorded history too. So that's why that prominent badging is there. The other side is a very heavy concentration of gold ray divine source stimulation, starting off with the golden healer quartz seen right here, which is very effective gold white light high heart direct source attunement, which is very advantageous. Then the aspect of the Himalayan golden azeztulite in conjunction also serves as a very fantastic direct high heart gold white light source attunement as well. So the two together, of course, have the same resonance pitch frequency, very similar, but they of course work together as vibrational compound interest as a duo to further intensify that direct source attunement alignment, which of course, as a joke I overuse, puts the source in sorcery, which is very effective in that purpose, like a little bit of a Holy Grail generator homage by design. Then moving on to here will be quite the complex section. Before I discuss the contents, so what will be under the hood once this is installed, I'll discuss the golden leather hood first. So the aspect of the hood of leather is far more than aesthetic, but indeed a functional component of this device. So the aspect of the gold, of course, is very, very in archetypal resonance with the heavy gold ray concentration seen right here, as well as it makes for another color therapy resonance governing that frequency output pitch of high solar plexus stimulation, very much empowering by design, by concept. as well as a way to protect all these crystals that have been highly stacked and terminated, seen right here, as it's being literally worn as a talisman, so they are protected from breakage, so they maintain their functions just like organs of a crystalline entity, so they don't have any runaways, so it maintains peak efficiency engineering by design. And the aspect also is quite critical. The most, I would say, is actually the leather works as a mitigation of energy leakage from a lateral sense of the energy cascading this wise. Basically works to insulate the energy so it's more condensed, most importantly through the primary blade band and the apex band, to maintain impeccable energetic continuity as much as possible so that it mitigates the radial leakage, laterally speaking that wise, with this very complex system right here, which I'll discuss right now. So the aspect also of the hood is quite complex. I'll discuss this guy first as a good preface. So this clear quartz seen right here is a very special rendition of a growth structure of something called fade-in quartz. So fade-in quartz is a clear quartz which by its base works as a very fantastic neutral programmable accelerant of other frequencies for that matter, such as the hardware of the crystalline apparatus as well as the software of the intentions of the wielder amplifying through the structure. But what makes it quite noteworthy is that the fade-in quartz has a growth cycle where it consistently breaks, restitches, breaks, restitches, breaks, restitches for millennia. So the aspect of that constant break restitching has a very powerful crystalline emanation attunement effect and resonance on the auric field of, quite simply, affixing any shatter points and breaks in the auric field from top to bottom, working much like a vibrational fix-a-flat. Let's just say like there's a tremendous aspect of a sacrum and solar plexus breakage point of disempowered nature, which is the human condition for all of us that choose to endure this journey on planet Earth. I would say that we're born into a mystery school. And the aspect of what makes it critical here too is that it works to fix and basically stitch any weak points or shatter points in the auric field to maintain ideal configuration, not to mention working in synergistic nature with a very high yield dynamic reactive construct is very, very conducive to master healing frequency at a constant ratio with many, many bells and whistles to support that feature. So that's why the fade-in quartz is there as the master restitcher from top to bottom. Very exotic, very specialty utilization. And this section is far more complex with many variables which will be concealed and God willing never seen the light of day, which means this maintained its ideal engineered function. So right here I'll discuss the Master Healer Trinity that I've utilized for many years now as a trifecta of full unanimous light body healing dynamics. Starting off with Star Argonite, as well as Tibetan Black Quartz and Seraphonite, which I'll discuss in one motion because basically all three of them have very similar resonance patterns for utilitarian master light body healing. What I'm trying to say there is that all three of these guys work as a master healer capacity to stimulate the entire auric field light body capacity, but most importantly, from top to bottom full stimulation, it also works to dismantle patterns of dis-ease found stored in the chakra calm, manifesting as a dis-ease on an energetic level. So these three together are the master healer trinity of full perpetual master healing from top to bottom that has been well proliferated at this point for that exact purpose. Then over here is something called Healer's Gold, which is a very integral iron-based combination of magnetite and iron pyrite to serve as another further grounding fortification, much like hematite, but a specific frequency attunement synergistic combination grounds very effectively the entire high radial energy to the cellular structure for a very massive making the magic real momentum and very shielding emanation. So that's tremendously advantageous crystal right there for that purpose. Then above that would be turquoise, a classic fifth chakra stimulant of favored millions for thousands of years due to its capacity to be a quintessential 4 terrestrial element stimulant of earth, fire, water, and air through a fifth chakra focus, generating full pranic wholeness, which is very sweet to the auric field as well. Truly not an underrated stone that has earned its acclaim for millennia. Then above that would be Larimar to be a little bit of a counterbalance for all this excessive heat fire. Larimar is a very fantastic 5th and 6th chakra stimulant that brings extreme soothing, calming water vibrational emanation and is a very nice little soothing reprieve to the cosmic fire dominant vibration of this very celestial construct. Then over here would be Black tourmaline, which is another famous classic now at this point. Black ray crystal of transmutation of negativity into positivity. And that would be the complexity of the engine bay that would now be concealed after this video before it flies the nest to live happily ever after the recipient. Then right here, at the very apex of the core would be rose quartz, seen right here. A little dose of pink ray high heart divine love attunement goes a long way in a closed loop circuit. Then above that, obviously the elephant in the room would be this ring that actually has the Eye of Horus and the Ankh on both sides, which are both classically acclaimed Egyptian magical symbols that are very appropriate in this homage to Egyptian magic, quite simply seen right here in this construct. Basically, as a little joke, I mentioned the recipient, it's kind of a construct that make a pharaoh blush or jealous, as I joked with, because it's such a very quintessential Egyptian attunement high-frequency radius output of basically, of course, combining the greatest hits of Egyptian magic in one closed-loop circuit with a little bit more modern renditions and, affiliations with very effective dynamic master healers for a very effective utilitarian auric field stimulation. That's very empowering and very much puts one in the disposition for a truth seeker. Now, by design, has the stones to back it. And all these crystals have been affixed to a wooden core, seen the very middle, barely visible based on the condensed components seen right here. But right here, you can see this is a wood core that was hewn into shape from Sedona, Arizona. So the aspect of the oak core plays a critical role for the silicocrystalline energy affixed to it to make a further compatible carbon-based transfer resonance to the carbon-based physical avatar for now as a very effective way to tangibilize and make the magic real based on resonance attunement. So that plays quite the critical role, as well as oak's a very famous wood of mythology and legend and magical utilization of strength and heroism, all that good stuff, which is once again always very appropriate and very, very empowering too. Then affixed to the oak on both sides would be selenite, seen right here, which makes for a very effective 6, 7, 8 non-physical chakra attunement back to one's godhead that clears the breeze between one's higher divine guidance and one's conscious self very effectively. And with that high frequency induction, also provides a powerful burning off of stagnation, not of divine resonance, through the entire auric field, which makes it a tremendously potent utilitarian master healer crystal frequency. And so the aspect why that's important too is that with the components by itself of selenite being very effective in that capacity, be quite simply, of course, a very, very conducive truth seeker agent, as always, hence they're all constructs that pass my hands. But the aspect also, it takes this entire closed-loop circuit of this consolidated, condensed rant about this crystalline construct. It takes this entire crystal pitch. It works to purify all of these crystals in a closed loop sequence. It works to amplify all these crystals, as well as, most importantly, harmonize and bring equilibrium to the entire crystal pitch, which makes it a truly dynamic spirit tool that is of the essence for this whole purpose. Then affixed to the selenites are the 4 spectrums of kyanite available to me, starting off with the black kyanite, which I will utilize whimsically fast penmanship and do my best to illustrate its rapid transfer capacity in the Mineral Kingdom. So black kyanite is very rapid for grounding excess energy through the root chakra, the earth stars, into the earth absolutely as quick as possible, which is quite the important contingency regulator itself to ensure the frequency pitch always has a bypass ground into the earth for reprocessing at the speed of quantum light, which is a very powerful safety feature, as well as a way to disperse the excess energy at a very quick rate, and, of course, be contingent to make the magic real by actually putting it into the earth. Then right here will be orange kyanite, which is a very empowering sacrum stimulant to the highest capacity, bridges past limitation blocks very effectively, very quickly. Then green kyanite, which is very effective for heart chakra transference at a very high ratio. And then right here will be blue kyanite, which is a very effective third eye stimulant based on the aspect of neuropathway reprocessing from the left and right hemispheres at the speed of quantum light, quite simply of Greek stimulation, to mitigate cross interference that would be impeding the whole brain thinking, aka the awakened third eye. So that's why the 4 together are quite effective for rapid dynamic balance, as well as another security measure, if you would, as providing etheric Teflon with that much rerouting, rebuffing energy at the speed of quantum light at an absolute consistent that never maintains Negativity, which means it never loses effective energetic charge. That's the one great thing about kyanite too, is that much rerouting, rebuffering is very extremely discouraging for stagnant bombarded energy to maintain the field from top to bottom without much reroute, reprocessing, like etheric Teflon. So that's the big aspect why the kyanites are so critical. Well, that would be the entire crystalline catalog. So that's the aspect that's quite simple as a summary. It's very dynamic, very effective, with a very heavy concentration of dramatic spiritual alignment and empowerment, with a great amount of revelation truth capacity by engineered design. Well, that would be it. 1,000 blessings, and may the force be with us all.